Nice. Okay.
Pardon?
I think people right now.
Okay, so.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Welcome. Let's just give a second for everyone to connect their audio as they come in. Hello, my name is Janfina Nyarigoti. I will be the MC for today, for today's session, which is the leadership and career development for via mentorship. So as we wait for everyone to join in, we have a Mentimeter. So there's a link in the chat. So just click the link in the chat and then you can answer the question. So the question is, what is your expected outcome of this session? Yes, so you can just quickly click on the chat and write what your expectations are for the session, for today's session. Yes. So as you write, it will pop up here, and then at least everyone will have a chance to see. Yeah, maybe I can start off. What is my expected my expectations for this session? I expect to answer a few questions that I have and a few queries that I have in regards to career and balance with all aspects of my life. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, so once again, welcome everyone. I think right now we are about 10 people. So yeah, let's give everyone else a chance to join in. I'm seeing our speakers are already here. Hello, Winnie and Shalom, welcome. Glad to see that you guys are really early. So, and thank you for gracing us with your presence. Yeah, hello.
Thank you, pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I can see there's also some other people. We have Fatma, we have Nicole, Clara. Welcome. Welcome everyone. I see Corazon has also joined us. So, and Mine, yeah. So welcome everyone to today's session. Once again, my name is Janfina Nyarigoti. I'm a graduate architect. I'm waiting for my graduation. So I'll be taking you through today's session as the MC. As you join in, we have a link on the chat to the Mentimeter. So the question that we have is, what are your expectations, or what do you expect from today's session? So you can just fill that in, and at least everyone can have an idea of the expectations. Yes. So I'll give everyone else a chance to join in. I'll give them around 2 more minutes, and then we can start our session. I'm not seeing anyone writing. What's wrong, guys? Is the link not working? If the link is not working, you can just type in the chat. I think that's very simple. What are your expectations for today's session? Yeah, because we should be seeing them pop up here. So yeah, just type in the chat, yeah. Okay, we have a lot more people coming in. We have Mercy, welcome. Sakina, welcome. Welcome to today's session. Who else do we have? We have Harriet. Yes, welcome. So those of us who are joining in right now, kindly you can mute your mics as you join in. Yes, you can mute your mics. And we have a link to the Mentimeter. Oh my goodness. Yes, great. So I think we can start off. Welcome everyone to today's session. Today's session is on leadership and career development. It's part of the monthly sessions that we've been having for the Wire Mentorship webinars. So I'd like to welcome you all in. Our first speaker for today is here with us. As she is coming in to speak, I'd like us all to maybe write in the chat box what your greatest concerns are in achieving your career goals. So as she starts with the presentation, you can just write that in the chat. What are your greatest concerns in regards to achieving your career goals? So our first speaker, as I said, is Winnie Waweru. Winnie is a finance and governance professional, and she has recently taken up the role of global health head of program finance in charge of governance at MasterCard Foundation. She has more than a decade in experience of finance, having mostly recently been the CFO of MasterCard for Sub-Saharan Africa for over 30 countries. And prior to that, she held finance roles in GE and PricewaterhouseCoopers. She also holds an executive MBA from USIU, a first-class honors degree in actuarial science from UON, and she's also done her CPA up to level K. So that is Winnie. She's also very passionate about Africa and about being part of the driving positive transformation in the continent. Yes, so thank you so much, Winnie, for being here with us, and I'll welcome you to the platform. Welcome.
Yeah, hi, how are you? Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so I'll switch, I think, to my laptop camera. For some reason, I cannot see myself at all on the USB one. Can you see me?
Yes.
Oh, you can see me?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay,
but you can just lower
that is odd.
your...
That is odd because I can't see anything. Just one sec. I think let me just switch to my laptop because I am literally seeing nothing. It's black on my end.
That's okay. We'll give you a minute. So as Winnie is figuring that out, as I said, again, welcome to today's session. I'm glad to see you guys are all here. We have over 20 people, so great to see you. As we are going through the presentation, I'd like each of us to share on the chat what are your greatest concerns about achieving your career goals. Yeah, you can just type that up in the chat. I can maybe say mine. One of my greatest concerns about achieving my career goals is whether I'll be able to balance, whether I would still have the whole life, whether it's family, whether it's the community, whether it's my family, if I will be able to balance all that. So that's one concern of mine. Yes, now we can see you, Winnie. Yeah, all right. I think you can continue.
All right, for some reason, I still can't see myself, but I'm glad that all of you can see me. So hi, everybody, and thank you so much for this opportunity to come and meet the women in real estate. It's my first time interacting with the group, and thank you so much to the leadership and all the facilitation, and to my co-speaker, Shalom. Very nice to meet you. So my intention was to share a few slides. I don't know whether you're okay with that. All right, so let me know as soon as you can see my screen. Are we good? All right, just one sec. Again, I don't know why technology always fails on the day everything. For some reason, it was fantastic. Until, all right. Yeah, so, you know, when I was thinking about this day and what I wanted to share, because I think the time that was given to me was 20 minutes. And my thought was, what can I cover in 20 minutes that can really leave us, you know, with an impact, right? And I had to reflect back to, you know, back in 2009, when I was graduating. So as you can see on this photo, that was mid 2009. And sorry, again, I don't even know why this thing is not even leaving my screen for whatever reason, right? So this was in September 2009 when I was graduating. And then this is, you know, me as an aunt, as a colleague, as, you know, as a leader in my church, as a women's leader in my church, you know, with my very awesome group of lady friends. And, you know, none of these things were in my life back then, and I never even envisioned. And so I took quite, you know, some time reflecting on, you know, what are those things that have enabled me to be able to, you know, to get to the point where I am today, right? And I'll be sharing with you my number 2 and not my number 1 for this particular session, which is resilience, right? And for me, resilience is, I think it's very important. My number 1, just FYI, is my faith in God. I always feel like that is the pillar and, you know, kind of the source of all my strength and what I do. But so today, the second point there is resilience, right? Now, what does resilience mean, right? You know, resilience is that ability to marshal your inner resources to be able to cope with tough times, right? But I feel for me that that definition is very limited, right? I would add another layer to that definition and say, why not thrive? So for me, resilience is about thriving, marshaling your inner resources to be able to thrive with tough times. So it's not just about coping, it's about thriving, right? And I want you to reflect on this image that I put on the right. And you have this flower that is growing, a sunflower that is growing in this dry and wasted kind of land, but it's somehow able to really, you know, thrive, right? And it's able to tap into, you know, those of you who know about sunflowers, you know, that flower is able to follow the sun, especially when it's young. Its roots go up to 4 feet deep. So it's able to actually leverage on what it has to be able to thrive in this kind of land. So my intention is that all of us, including myself, at the end of this session should be able to be this flower, right? In whatever circumstances that life ends up with us. Now, why did I choose resilience, right? I thought resilience was very timely in my opinion, because one, we have things today that are happening, what I'd say our sphere of control, right? So we have, you know, 2020, the pandemic. Following the pandemic, we had, you know, the Ukraine war, and just as, you know, we were thinking that's almost, you know, getting solved, then we have all the supply chain impact as a result of that. And then now we have high inflationary rates happening all over the world. And then in Kenya here, to add on to that, we have the political climate, right? So there are all these things that are happening that are, in my opinion, out of our sphere of control, right? Now, parking those on the side, right? The other piece is then, what are even the things that are in our control, right? Which is, and when I was speaking to Joyner in terms of preparing for this session, in terms of, who's the audience, right? I realized that we have quite a number of us who are waiting to graduate. We have quite a number of us who've just graduated and they're getting into, the world, the professional world of working. And then there are people who've been, working for quite some time. So our context is very different, right? And in all those areas of our context, we have what we call stressors. My goodness, how can one remove this thing, right? We have what we call stressors, right? So that's what I was trying to bring out over here, right? Which is, I could be there in university and I'm asking myself, is this really what I wanted to do, right? Or I'm graduating and, what will I do when I graduate? Will I get a job? I'm in this situation that's unfamiliar. Do I have enough confidence? So my point is, there's a lot in life today that tests our resilience, right? It tests our ability to cope in different situations. And all of us at some point are always going to come across this. And that's why for me, resilience is so important, because you will never be able, as long as you're on this earth and you're not in the moon, right? As long as you're living on this earth, those tough situations, those challenging situations are definitely going to come. And the question is, how then do you thrive in those kind of situations, right? And I thought of, when you think about resilience, resilience has so many ways of building it. But I think that one piece that really builds resilience or bars resilience is your mindset. And so I really want us to now start thinking about what is our mindset when we are going through tough situations, right? And I underlined something here, this statement that I've put here I've circled, which is what I hear a lot of my friends also saying, oh, I've been rejected in a job interview. And I think this is a good segue for me to start discussing mindset, because you think about that statement of getting rejected, and I put it in quotes, what does it really mean, right? A different way of thinking about that situation, which goes back to my mindset, is saying, my application for this job was unsuccessful, right? So you can leave that interview thinking that you've been rejected, or you can leave that interview saying, this application was unsuccessful for this company, right? And those two are very different mindset, because one almost has a way of depleting your self-worth, while the other, it leaves room for you to do something about it, right? Which is, why was my application not successful? Is it that there was a stronger candidate? Is it that the company already had someone internally who they were positioning for the job? Is it that I need to soup up my application? Do I need to speak to a career advisor? Do I need to do something about my CV? My point is, your mindset changes how you approach things, right? And so it's so important for us, when we think about boosting resilience, to start thinking about what kind of mindset do we approach tough situations, right? And before I even go into what I consider to be unhelpful thought processes, I wanted to share with you a very interesting experience that happened when I was in part of my job environment. So I was in this particular job, and I felt that it was time for me to move to the next job that was more senior, it was much bigger, and it was much more interesting, right? And so, the way I don't know whether some of you have gotten to this point, especially those who probably started getting into the work environment. So you're doing something and you are really good at it, and you know that you're ready for the next thing. And that was me. So when I saw that job, and I went to, I thought it was worth talking to the hiring manager to say, hey, I've seen that you've put up this job, and I think I'm good at it, and I'd really want to give it a chance. And so when I set up the meeting with the hiring manager for that job, and I introduced myself and why I wanted to speak to him about my interest in that job, the first thing the gentleman said to me is, you're not the kind of person I am looking for. right? Even before saying anything, I just said my name and my interest. And the first thing the person says is, you're not the kind of person I'm looking for. And, for 10 seconds, I felt like I had been, slapped, and there were some tears that I almost felt like were almost coming to my eyes, but it was just 10 seconds. And something in me, kind of snapped. And I said, you know what? Thank you so much for that feedback. I appreciate it. It's fair feedback that, I'm probably not the person you want, but because I had already scheduled this meeting with you, would you be okay with me taking you through why I feel that I'm the right person for the job, and also what kind of value I believe that I would bring to this job, right? And of course, very few people will say no, right? Because I've already booked your calendar, I'm already there. Why not give me an opportunity? So he said, fine, why don't you go ahead and tell me what you wanted to say? And ladies, I was prepared, right? I went ahead and I said, this is all the things I've done. This is why this role is important to the company. This is the value I believe that I'm going to bring. This is what I'm going to do differently. And at the end of the 50 minutes, he told me, you know what, go ahead and apply. And I actually ended up getting that job, right? And so the reason why I wanted to share that example is for you to see what it takes sometimes to bounce back out of difficult situations, right? Because it was very easy for me in that standpoint to say, okay, wow, if that is the person who's going to hire me, and he already says I'm not the guy, maybe I just need to walk away. But I knew that I was good enough, and I knew this is what I really wanted. So my point here is to say that, resilience is that muscle you keep building over and over. So the more you go through tough times, the more you are able to navigate through that tough times. It becomes that muscle that the day somebody will say something like that to you, you're not going to fall apart and start crying, and, you will bounce back in that situation. And, the first thing here that I wanted to say is that, there's a lot of times when we are thinking about our mindset, we have this black and white thinking, which in my opinion is very unhelpful. So for example, you might say, I'm not a resilient person. But in reality, all of us here in this forum are actually resilient, right? Because there's nobody here who has not gone through a tough time and been able to go through it. So the question is, how do I leverage on something that I've gone through before to be able to go through it today, right? To go through this trial, whatever I'm going through today, how do I use my past experiences for this? So resilience is something you keep building. And I was thinking about by the way, I am a fitness freak. I love going to the gym and running and all that. And one of the things when I started going to the gym and lifting weights is, the first time I was told to do to lift a 5 kg weight, the whole week, my hands, I was so sore I could barely do anything. But 2 years later, you don't even think that the weight, you don't even feel like a 5 kg weight is anything, right? But the weight hasn't changed, right? The only thing that has changed is that my muscle are more built up to handle the weight. And for me, that's how I think about resilience. It is that muscle that you keep building each and every day, such that even when things now start coming at you, they are lighter, right? They haven't changed, but you're kind of stronger in your mind to be able to deal. So I think one of the things I would encourage all of us is to always try and think away from the black and white thinking, that things are not always black or white, right? There's always a gray area, and how do I work around that gray? I think the other piece that I wanted to mention is when I think about unhelpful mindset, when you think about building resilience, is catastrophizing, assuming the worst out of a situation. I'll never get a job. If I start my business, nobody will buy from me. There are no customers, there's no money in Kenya. That kind of catastrophizing does not allow you to think about the opportunities that are before you. And one of the things I've realized is in every catastrophe, somebody somewhere is benefiting and somebody somewhere is thriving, right? So why not let that be you, right? And again, it goes back to the mindset. So how do we move away from catastrophizing and actually seeing opportunities, right? The other piece for me is where you overgeneralize, right? Because I wasn't successful in this job interview, even this one, I won't be successful, right? Rather than asking, why was I not successful in that one? How am I going to be more successful in this one, right? So that overgeneralizing. Hello? Sorry, I thought I had someone speak. So the other piece, I would say, the other, what I call an helpful mindset is jumping into,
I'm able to proceed.
right? You know, where you're saying, for example, you know, there are too many applicants, so why should I go for this one? Or this company has people internally, so why should I apply? And just one thing I wanted to share in my experience. So there's a particular, sorry, there's a bit of background noise.
Yes, I know. We only have 11 online.
See,
I
one
think,
second. Admin, can you mute people, please? And ask the admin to mute people.
Okay. So I just wanted, out of, you know, I was just thinking about, you know, having so many applicants, and I just realized, so there's a particular job when I was joining MasterCard, right? That, you know, I applied for a job that I really wanted, and I wasn't successful in terms of that particular time, right? Like 8 months later, the organization called me and said, hey, Winnie, by the way, we interviewed you 8 months ago. You are the second kind of candidate in terms of performance. And we realize now that you probably were the right candidate. And they hired me, right? So the other person joined, they weren't successful in the job. The person left and they called me. So my point is, it could easily have been me living there and thinking, oh my gosh, you know, that things didn't go so well for me. But in reality, I would have me and say, hey, by the way, I think you should have been the right candidate. We need to also get away from jumping to conclusions and always believing that, you know, the end of a matter is actually the end. I feel like there's always a second chance, and you never know, right? You never know how things eventually pan out, right? The other piece is comparing yourself with others and despairing. You know, so if you're in the university today and you're saying, everybody knows what they want to do after university except me, right? I mean, where did you get that statistic from? You know, is it like a proper statistic, or it's imaginary? My point is, there are a lot of thoughts that go through our mind that are not reality, right? And once we entertain them, we end up being in despair instead of coming to a point where we believe that we are actually in control and we can do things about our situation. So in overall, I want to say, you know, when you're thinking about building resilience, right, that ability to continually, and remember that flower that I talked about, it's so important to be kind to yourself, right? Everything that goes into your mind, do you have that growth mindset, right? That when you see challenges, you always think of them as opportunities for you to grow. And that's what I really want to leave us with. And just to say, you know, when you think about resilient people, they show up in so many different ways, right? It's the courage, it's being calm under pressure. It's also having humor and realizing not everything is so serious, right? That it's okay to make mistakes, believing that there's so much positivity in the future, that you can ask for help, right? Do you have friends that you can go to in times of stress? And for me, that is what resilience looks like. And so I want to leave us in my 20 minutes. I want to believe I have kept time, right? That, you know, life actually doesn't get easier, in my opinion, or more forgiving. We are the ones who get stronger and more resilient. That's what Steve Maraboli said. And I totally like this statement, that the more you get stronger, the more you get resilient, then you'll find that your life starts getting more easy. And so for those of us who are either in university, those who are transitioning out of campus, those who started working, my prayer and my appeal is that we continue to build our resilience muscle. We will find that it will really come in handy, right? Life won't get easier, but you will become so much stronger, right? And mine is to wish all of us a very successful journey in all the things that you're doing. So thank you so much. And I really appreciate the time that you've given me. So yeah, that's it. That's my 20 minutes. I hope I kept time, Madam MC.
Yes, spot on. You've done a great job. Thank you so much for that in regards to changing our mindset, in regards to just building resilience and keeping in mind all the positive thoughts in your mind. So thank you so much. For that presentation. Floor to anyone who has a question. You can. Anyone? We only have 2 minutes as we welcome the next speaker. So does anyone have a question? Okay, maybe what I can ask is, I feel that many of us have a sense of imposter syndrome and we fear actually failing and trying. So what are a few tips that you have for such people?
Yeah, thanks for that question. And I think, unfortunately, I always think, I could be wrong, but the imposter syndrome almost, for the most part, affects probably ladies more than men. I think they suffer from the other part of imposter syndrome, which is overconfidence, right? I think for me, going back to my mindset is, first is I personally have a really good set of support network in terms of women friends, and part of what we do in my group of women is we really affirm each other, especially on our birthdays, right? So if it's your birthday, we'll sit and we'll say all the things we believe that you're really good at. And I think the more we have done this thing, one of the things we've really realized is there are things that you're really good at, and it's easy for you to get bogged down by that one thing that you're not good at, very aggressive, that one thing, maybe I need to learn to be more calm under pressure. And then I can easily make that the big deal and forget everything about my leadership, my boldness. And so I think that having that reaffirming attitude of realizing that there's a reason why you're here, right? And so for me, when I go into spaces, especially when I'm new, so you just heard that I've recently started a new job in a space that I've never done before. I mean, I always think back of all the successful things that I've done, and I'm like, I deserve to be here, right? I'm not an imposter, right? There's something I'm bringing to the table. This world may be new, but my skills are not new, and my skills are transferable. So I think going back to what you tell yourself, right? The other thing that the former CEO of Facebook wrote is something that I honestly changed my mindset, right? As a woman, I would go into the boardroom and, you feel like you want to just sit somewhere at the back. And she said, no, like, why do you feel you need to sit at the back? You have something to bring to the table. And I think since I read that, I'm telling you, I always sit at the front of whatever, unless I'm told I cannot sit there, that is my seat. Right? Let me go figure out why I need to visit it, but I'm there. And I'm telling you, it shifts your mindset. You start realizing that you don't belong to the back, right? You have something you are bringing to the table. Have a seat at the table and don't be apologetic.
Hello, how are you?
All the things that you bring.
I'm very well. My name is Jerry. I had called earlier and spoken to Felix. Yes, and he gave me the number. I've sent a picture there, and
Let's see.
Sorry for that. You can continue.
Yeah, no. So I think I had concluded on that. So that's how, for me, I'd say how to deal with imposter syndrome and to recognize that it's always going to happen, but what do you do about it? What do you tell yourself when you feel it starting to rise up in your thoughts?
Thank you so much for that. We have one question. Maybe you can just answer in 1 minute from Phoebe Theory, as we welcome our next guest, who is Shalom and Winnie. So the question that Phoebe has is, can you kindly clarify on should versus could mentality? So I don't know if do you have a few seconds for that? Kindly clarify on the should versus could mentality as we
Yes,
welcome
for
our second.
example. So for example, you want to start a business, right? You've decided I've finished my architectural course. I want to now, I think John Peter, you said, you're thinking of going, so do I want to start my own farm or do I want to be employed? So I feel a statement like I should start my own farm almost puts so much pressure on you, right? I should. Why should you, right? I could start my own farm. I could be employed. Could, in my opinion, gives an opportunity to say that there's room for me to change. Should feels like somebody somewhere is, standing with a stick and telling you, you need to do this thing. So for me, the should mentality, in my opinion, is an unnecessary pressure that you put on yourself. Could leaves room for opportunities to say that I can explore this or explore something else. So that's what I meant by should versus could mentality.
All right, thank you so much. I think that's clear to all of us. Once again, thank you, Winnie, for having us, for being here with us. That was a very insightful presentation, and I'm sure every single one of us has learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
All right. So now I would like to welcome the second speaker for today. Her name is Shalom Winnie. Hello, Shalom. So maybe I can give a short bio on Shalom. So she's the founder of the Retro Group Limited, which she runs life skill and leadership development programs in schools and as well as in wellness sessions within the corporate workspace. She's a regular speaker at parenting and teacher training forums in schools and churches, and she's served and worked with children, teens, and young adults in various capacities over the last 20 years. She's also very passionate and seeing family lives transformed, especially through the young people's interaction with adults in their life. She's an author, a speaker, and a family life coach, and mentors children, teens, and young adults. So thank you so much, Shalom, for being here with us. I'd allow you to start now.
Thank you so much, John Fina. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think I've seen a couple of them. It's very good to be here. It's quite an honor to engage in this conversation. So first, I think I'd like to say congratulations for the job you're doing, whoever it is who's leading the mentorship program, because I feel like the world will be better if each one of us has a mentor that we can look up to or somebody to hold our hands. So I guess my challenge to the young ladies here who are being mentored is to glean and suck up and learn as much as you can from the people mentoring you, so then you pass it on to the next generation, or you pass it on to whoever will be below you. So basically about today's leadership development. Part of the challenges that come with personal development or developing yourself as a leader have a lot to do with who you think about who you are. So I think that's what I'm going to be getting into. What would stop you from actually progressing in your career? Because yes, you've gone to school, maybe you get a good job and somebody is trying to push you, but somehow you just keep getting stuck. That's what I want us to look at for the next couple of minutes. And the thing I want to zero in on for now, there's lots of factors that may actually come into play, but the one thing I want to zero in on is engagement. How do you engage with whatever it is that you do? Now, engagement is the thing that actually helps us deliver. So employers, anybody here who's an employer knows that when you have an engaged employee, they will deliver. They will actually work with minimal supervision. You know, once they get the brief, they run with it. They're positive, they're passionate about what they do. They basically work hard and then will share the values of the organization. So how do we get ourselves to the point where we are fully engaged? So as a young person, one of the things to think about is, and I like what you asked, I think it's John Fina who asked about the imposter syndrome thing. Imposter syndrome is about what you think of yourself. You feel as though you don't belong on that table, as Winnie rightfully put it. And so your engagement and your feeling of whether you're an imposter or not will also depend on the field you're in. And I will not make assumptions that everybody here is in a male-dominated field or a female-dominated field. It is wherever it is that you go, there are certain assumptions that you make that end up reducing your level of engagement. So some of these assumptions are that we are where we need to be. When you assume that you are where you need to be, then you end up not looking wider. You say, I need to have this job. I need to be here. I need to be employed. And I think Winnie has also implied a bit about that. Don't always assume that you are where you need to be. Second assumption we make is that we are where we want to be. When you assume you're where you want to be, then you don't open your mind to what it would take to progress in your career or to grow as a leader. The other thing we assume is that we can separate work from life. A bit in the beginning when we were getting started, I think, Joanne, Fina, you're the one who said, one of your concerns is, would you be able to balance life? And here's the thing about being young and starting out versus the life that's going to be ahead of you. If you go through your work life thinking that you can separate your work from the rest of your life, then you're going to falter in some of the areas that you think you want to achieve, you know? So one of the things that would happen is you're assuming that having a boyfriend or getting into a relationship or getting married or getting into whatever relationship you want, romantic or otherwise, is going to be separate from how you're delivering. The more happy juices you have at home or in the home front, the more happy juices will leak into your workplace, right? So throughout life, it's not about looking for a balance where it assumes that everything is equal. It's about looking at how each is feeding the other or sucking out from the other. The last assumption we make, and this is something that I see a lot in young people, we assume that our employers or our bosses have the responsibility to develop our careers. Your career is not your boss's responsibility. Your career will never ever be your supervisor's responsibility. So I'm hoping that by the time we are done with this next few minutes, you're actually able to take charge of your own career. All your boss or employer will do is assist you in the process, but they can only assist you based on what it is that you know that you want, what it is that you want for yourself. So the other thing that fails us when it comes to engagement is a lack of self-awareness. So first, there's assumptions that we make. The second thing is lack of self-awareness. And this is lack of self-awareness by you, the individual. That's what I want to look at. Then the other thing is priorities of the employer. If your employer is not interested in advancing your career or in caring about your engagement enough, then you'll find that you're going to be pushed to do things that may not necessarily develop you as a person. So the priorities of your employers matter. And then the other one that's very industry is the available, ready to have your job. True cold hard fact. Once upon a time, I used to run an interior design business. And you know, like how when we are on site and we have fundis coming in, we would have some people not come in for whatever reason. You know, my child fell sick or whatever, or my house was locked. the brutality of that industry was such that if you don't show up and the work needs to be done and we have to do it in that day, we hired somebody else to replace you immediately. So one of the things I know is that in the real estate industry and also elsewhere, there's too many people waiting to get a job. So we end up having the pressure of keeping the job as opposed to developing ourselves and developing our careers or thinking about our careers and advancing. So we end up staying where we are out of fear. So the barriers that you really need to overcome are those assumptions. You need to overcome yourself. You need to get over that imposter that you think you are. You need to understand what it is that is in you that will help you succeed. So because I want to look at the positives of what is in us, let me talk about the things that will hinder your leadership, but at the same time, the things that you need to be developing in yourself so that you can grow. Both grow is your interest in the content of the job. So because the only person whose career I have an idea about is Joanne Fina, I'll use that as an example. So Joanne, let me ask you, okay, are you Joanne Fina?
Yes,
Fina.
that's my name.
What exactly about architecture do you like?
I enjoy the creativity. So the fact that I can design something out of nothing and it can come to be. And two, I enjoy the fact that I love people, so I love interacting with people. So gaining all the ideas that they have and making it come to life. So yeah, I think that's what I enjoy about architecture.
Oh, fantastic. So imagine getting a job where you're not allowed to draw anything that you like. You're told, this is what I'd like you to draw. And I want you to sit in this cubicle by yourself to get your job done. Do you think you would thrive?
No, I would not.
Okay, so if you are a single mom of 3 children and you need the salary, would you still do that job?
Yes, because I need to provide.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to bring about when it comes to engagement. There's engagement that you're going to have out of necessity. You get, so there's certain circumstances that may end up being in your life that force you to fully engage with your job, but not because you're interested in the content of that job. So a lot of the time when we're looking at our career progression, we need to think about what motivates us in a job versus what motivates us in our job. So if I can use your example, what motivates you in a job is the freedom to create and to interact with people, if I can totally summarize it. But if you were having that boring job, what motivates you could be the fact that you're getting a paycheck that's taking care of your bills. So what motivates you in a job may not necessarily be what motivates you in your job. And when you think of yourself as somebody who wants to progress your career, you have to understand that the motivation should be intrinsic. It should not be because of poverty or a fear of poverty. It should not be because you want luxury. It should be because of the things that you're good at, the things that you enjoy doing, the stuff that will actually wake you up every day. So a question to ask yourself at this point and often enough is, what do you know more? Do you know what you don't want, or do you know what you want? Which of the two do you know? Do you know what you want, or do you know what you don't want? If I were to ask you to write a list of all the things you want, would that list be longer or shorter than the one of this is what I don't want? Now, a lot of the time we focus on what we don't want, but that is not very sustainable. When you focus on wants, you're able to ask for that thing that's going to keep you motivated, that's going to keep you engaged, that's going to keep you growing. Because growth does not happen in the absence of engagement. So look at the interest you have in whatever that job contains. Then the other thing that's very key is your temperament for the job. Are you talented enough and motivated enough to actually get that job done? And that's something to do, like to keep checking on yourself. I don't know where each of you are right now. Some of you are at the beginning of a career. Some of you have probably worked for 2 to 3 years or 1 year, and you're growing. Understand that the interest you have and the talent you possess for a job will be influenced by the status you are at in life. So career progression may end up being very, you know how you would have a chart that's moving upwards. There are areas where you may feel as though you're regressing as opposed to progressing, but you should also check, what's my status in life right now? What's going on right now that's causing my career to stagnate, and what would make it speed up? So that you're not getting stuck when you feel, or when it looks like you're regressing, or when it looks like you're stagnating. Career progression should be something that you look at long term. It's something that you say, okay, now I'm in my 20s. What will my career look like when I'm in my 50s? So that you're looking at the progression overall as opposed to this month. What does that do? It makes you take a bad month lightly, and it gives you hope and gives you a bit more energy to grow into the next step. So a lot of the time, understand that whatever it is that you're going through, the things that you're interested in may be influenced by your current life status. And therefore, you may end up, changing based on whatever it is you're going through. Now, one of the things we do to help young people figure this out is run like appraisals and assessment tests. And so some of the other things that we look at in these tests is, do you have the aptitude to do the job? And those are things that your employers and potential employers will be looking at, but not necessarily telling you that that's what they're checking. They come and tell you, okay, there's something that just doesn't fit. I'm trying, I think you have potential, and they're not able to pinpoint that thing. It's important to know whether your talents are mental, whether they're sensory, whether they're perceptive, like what is it? How exactly are you talented? I could be talented as a creative, but I think creatively rather than do the creative. So when you understand what your aptitude is for a job, then you can progress where you need to progress. You also need to understand how you interact with people versus things. Sometimes you will think that being a leader of a big team may be a good idea for your career progression, whereas you're such an introvert, you don't even want to deal with people. So you end up forcing yourself into a space that will not necessarily help you as a person, and you will lose the motivation later on. You can grow in your career without being like the person next door. That's what I'm trying to say. So when you understand how people and things influence your engagement, then it would help you. Another thing to look at is how you reason. How do you use the information that you have to grow? Because there's some people who, when you get something that you assume is a manual job, you will look at it and think, I didn't go to university for this, right? Now, if your reasoning is at that level, you will not be able to harness whatever it is in that lesson or whatever it is that is in that experience that can help you grow. So think about how you reason, think about how you use information. That's how you work with data. Because the whole story about self-awareness is knowing yourself enough so that you're not the one who's tripping yourself. Know yourself enough to grow, know yourself enough to recognize growth opportunities when they come, and know yourself enough to understand that sometimes you may be the one who trips yourself, right? What else do we look at? We look at your vocational analysis. What is this? This is basically something that helps you look at the trade or profession that you can thrive in. Where will you thrive? So for Joanfina, who's a graduating architect, will you thrive as an employee architect or self-employed architect? Will you thrive in a small organization or a big organization? Would you thrive locally, or would your skills and everything else about you be better placed internationally? where is the best place to place you? And when you understand that as an individual, then you start asking for it. Because even when you have a conversation with your mentor and your mentor asks you, like, where can I connect you? How can I help you? You're able to say, I am best placed in an international market. I'm best placed in a, like now, let's say go to somewhere like where? There's one of those European countries that's building a lot using wood, you know, and therefore they are doing a lot of sustainable growth of forests because they're using wood as opposed to concrete for their buildings. If that's the kind of person you are, you're able to ask your mentor, can you connect me to those guys? So you're able to ask when you understand what your vocation is. Now, so as a whole, to progress, you need to learn. To grow as a leader, you need to keep learning. One very, very important thing that we don't understand, and this, I think I'll say it's as a result of how we have gone through the school system, we don't understand that we learn differently. So once you get out of university, and now you're the place start looking for learning the way everybody looks for learning. You assume that you need to, what's it called? Be in a class. You need to be doing an online course. You need to be doing God knows what else. What I'm trying to say is understand yourself enough to not learn the way everybody else is learning, to learn in the best way that serves your career. So for leadership development to happen, for your career progression to happen, self-awareness is a key thing, because it will help you apply the right traits to your position. You know, it will help you know yourself enough so that you can apply the good traits that you have, the hidden strengths that you have into your current position. Then it will also help you feel confident as you're talking about your strengths. Because when you get the opportunity to grow, when you get the opportunity to progress your career, are you going to be confident enough to say, this is who I am, and this is what I'd like to do? So probably in conclusion, what I'd like to say is you need to take charge of your life, shed any assumptions that are not serving you well as much as possible, and then focus on the direction you want to go as a person. Because when you know yourself well, you know what exactly it is that you want to work on. You know where you want to grow towards, right? Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you so much, Shalom, on that. That was very insightful in regards to at least learning yourself, self-awareness, actually knowing who you are as a person, and then that can help you advance your career. So thank you so much for that. I'll now welcome any questions that we have. So if anyone has a question, you can just raise your hand, and you can, or you can just unmute yourself and or type in the chat. We have a question here from Sakina. Welcome, Sakina. And she asks, how can you be positive in a job you don't see yourself doing? How can you be positive in a job that you don't see yourself doing?
First and foremost, and that's why, again, I say self-awareness is very key. When you know what your strengths are, one of the things you can do is that you can either see how to apply your strengths into that job. You know, you didn't see yourself doing this job, and here you are, and it's a job that you need. See how you can apply your strengths and your interests in that job. Now, let's say you can't. Let's say it's a job that is a totally wrong fit. If you have a plan, if you start working on a plan for your way out, you know, how to get out from where you are, then you will have an energy, because every day you come to work, you're coming to work knowing that you're working towards an exit that will help you grow in the area that you want to work in. So positivity should be about your life as a whole, so that then you're able to garner a bit of that positivity and put it in the job that you have at that point in time. So that you're looking at that job and thinking, okay, so what is it about this job? What is it that I can do to enjoy this job? And if there's absolutely nothing, how can I get out? Yeah.
Thank you for that. Sakina, I hope your question has been answered. Yes, anyone else? You can just either type in the chat box or you can just raise your hand or unmute yourself. Maybe a question that I have, it's more personal. 5 years ago, did you envision your career as it is right now? Did you see yourself in the direction that you've taken?
I love that. So 5 years ago is short because I think it is that 5 years ago that I chose to change my career. Remember, I said that once upon a time, I was an interior designer. I was running an interior design business, and what we were doing was interior construction. So let me say, one of the things that has been a constant right through my life, anything I've ever gotten involved in has been transformational. There's always somebody's life being transformed in one way or another. So I think transforming people's lives has been the underlying and driving thing that has basically run my career. So I started off as a graphic designer. So my original training was as a graphic designer. In between that, I got into marketing. Somewhere along the way, to pass my time, and you know how when you're young and you have a lot of extra time, I would volunteer in different places. And one of the places I volunteered was in schools and churches, and we used to run the Sunday school. And then what I used to do was basically teach whatever it is. So rather than think about it as I'm teaching Bible, I looked for creative things to do to teach the lesson. Now, as a result of interacting with children, liking their spaces and everything else, I started designing children's bedrooms. Now, from designing children's bedrooms, it ended up becoming such a lot of work, profitable in very many ways, that interior design became my new career. So you see, that's how I shifted slowly from graphic design and moved into interior design. Now, interior design, basically what I was doing was the interior construction bit. So I was more of a contractor than the decor end of design. And it got to a point and I asked myself, is this the kind of job that I want to be doing when I am much, much older? And the age that I put myself at was 80. So I was looking at myself as an 80-year-old. Do I want to be struggling with whether the sewage system is working? Has the plumbing been done right? Are the electricals okay? Is the space done right? You know, workman compensation for this thing or the other. All the stuff, the headache that comes with doing an interiors job. And I knew I don't want to do that when I'm older. So that's when I decided to start shifting my career. And I thought, what is it that I can do that will serve me in the stage that I'm getting at in life? And so slowly by slowly, I now changed that and even went back to school and now became a counseling psychologist. So 5 years ago, I did not think I would do what so training. In fact, I used to hate the idea of doing this thing behind a screen. But then when COVID happened, it became a possibility. Actually, it became the only way to do things for a while, and therefore adapted and moved on. So one of the things I know about myself is every time when there's an opportunity to do something, I learn. I always, whatever it is, I look for what can I learn out of this. That's why it's easy for me to say when being positive is very easy in a job that you didn't see yourself doing, because it's to look and see, so what can I get out of this? Even when I was working in a church, I knew I'll never, ever, ever work in a church. But the period that I was there, I asked myself, what can I learn from this experience? And there's lots of skills that I picked up along the way. So 5 years from now, will I still be doing what I'm doing? The one thing I know I'll be doing, I'll be engaged in connecting generations and transforming people's lives. But what the format may be, I don't know. I don't know. It may change along the way. Because again, 4 years ago, I authored a book. I never thought that I would write, but now author is one of the things that I am, because I started writing books about the things that I'm dealing with day to day. Yeah, so your career can change as you go. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
seeing
you
a
so
question.
much. Yes, there's another question.
From Fatma. Says, does it work to take a year or two break from your work because of your child? Will you still be relevant when you come back to the market? I'd say absolutely yes. And that I will say out of my experience. I'm a parent, I'm a mom of two biological kids, and I've got others. So I'm basically a mom of 5 in total. And one of the things that I did every time I got my child, I would actually take a break from work. I'd take a break from formal employment because I felt that I need to be there a lot more for my child and have the flexible hours that you have when you're not employed by somebody. Now, about being relevant when you come back to the market, this era we are in right now, technologically, I think is the most beautiful time ever when it comes to career relevance. Because even when you're home, you can grow your skills. Even when you choose to take this break to take care of your children, 2 years, 3 years, whatever time that it actually takes, you can continue growing your skills. There's lots of LinkedIn courses and things that happen. You can talk back again to what you see what we are doing online. You can hold forums, even for free, that will get you speaking about your area of interest and your area of expertise, such that by the time you're getting back and you want formal employment, so to speak, you haven't completely disengaged with the industry. So yes, I think it's okay to take a break, but again, take the break knowing what it is it's going to do and what direction you want your career to take. Will you still be relevant? Absolutely, yes. But then again, it is your responsibility to stay there, to stay in the industry that you want to continue being relevant in. Then the other question is, how do you handle pressure at work or life in general without giving up? I'd like to look at that from a venting point of view, because that's where balance comes in. Pressure is manageable when you have somewhere to release that pressure. So when you're doing your life, do life as much as possible with giving yourself opportunities to actually relieve the day pressure. Because pressure, when pressure mounts over time, is when it becomes unmanageable.
Just answering me.
If you actually relieve pressure for the day, you know, talk to a friend at the end of the day and say, this is the kind of day I have had, or talk to somebody at the end of the week, or go somewhere at the end of the month, then you're going to find that little by little, you're relieving that pressure. Work should not be your 24/7 thing, because then that's a very unhealthy life that you're living. Now, how do you manage to get all that? Understand yourself to know, what is it that makes me happy? What is it that calms me down? What is it that relaxes me? And then you start engaging in those things as much as possible. Yeah. Rema is asking, talk to us about changing careers. What is the process like shifting from one profession to another? What kind of mindset should you have? Or how do you prepare yourself psychologically for the change? Wow. I would say, and this is something I've learned in hindsight, it's not advisable to change careers when you don't know yourself enough, because you may end up changing them out of boredom. You know, you may end up, you know, you've enjoyed life, and then the place you're in becomes boring because of one thing or another, industry changes and all, and then you decide, let me change my career. If you don't know yourself enough, you're going to struggle as though you're starting from, you know, level 1. So as much as possible, engage in some sort of self-awareness process where you understand yourself, you know your strengths, you know what it is that you like doing, so that when you're changing a career, you're actually aligning it to the things that you're interested in. You're not just for changing sake. One little thing that I did that may seem irrelevant was go for training to be a kindergarten teacher. Now, why did I choose kindergarten? Because I did not want to spend, I needed the education qualifications, but I did not want to spend 4 years getting a degree that I know I will not use. So the easiest entry point for me at that point in time was a diploma in early childhood education. Now, when I was going in, I knew I'm never going to be a kindergarten teacher per se. That was not going to be my career as a whole. But one of the things it did was, because of being in that space, then I got myself aligned to parents of children of that age. and started doing sessions for them. So what he did is actually add value to the career that I'm pursuing right now, as opposed to me looking at it as I'm going to be a kindergarten teacher. So when you're shifting from one thing to another, don't shift professions as much as shift environments. Don't look to keep shifting profession as much as shifting your environment. The mindset you need for that is a growth mindset. Go dig in a little bit about fixed versus growth mindsets. Do a little bit of research about that. But you need to have the kind of mind that says, what can I learn out of this? Yes, today looks like a very crappy day. What can I learn out of what has happened today? What happens when I have no money? How can I survive without it? It's always looking at being resourceful. As opposed to looking for resources, you are actually resourceful. That question, what do you have in your hands? What's that thing that you have in your hands? Now, to prepare yourself psychologically is to understand that not everything you try will work out. Not every big dream you have will come true. But to also understand God giving you time. Your life is not necessarily ending tomorrow. You have the time to sleep, rest, gather energy to wake up and fight tomorrow. So not every day is going to be as bad as your last. And also understand that not every day will be as good as your last. Many times when we have success, we assume that from now on, we're going to be successful. Prepare yourself psychologically to receive both the good and the bad as much as possible. Yeah, so I hope, Rema, that has answered your question. Violet, very nice to see you. Yes, we were in school many moons ago. So you see, she's talking about design and communication school. And so that's what I was telling you. I started off doing graphic design and communication. So good to see you, Violet. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shalom. That was a very interactive session, and I think so many of us have gained a lot. So for our next session, we're going to break out into breakout rooms. I know there are still many people who would like to maybe reach out to you, maybe ask you more questions. So I wanted to find out if you can share maybe an email or a contact so that if anyone else has any questions or queries in regards to their career and all the good stuff that you've talked to us about. Yes.
Okay, that's my email, shalomwinnie@gmail.com. Yeah, so you can reach out and yes, we'll talk. I mean, for those who would like to do the assessment, we can talk about it, just dig in further. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Shalom. Personally, I've learned a lot. The first thing that I'm going to do is write a list about what I want to do and what I don't want to do. And I think that's a great place to start. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
You're most welcome. It was lovely talking to you.
Yeah, it was lovely. We have another comment. Thank you, Shalom. Very enlightening. So we have, let's say, less than 10 minutes to go to our discussion rooms. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break everyone randomly into small breakout rooms. And within the breakout rooms, I'd like each and every one of you to discuss what you've gotten from this session and what action points you're committed to do in the next year from now. So I'll repeat that. The question is, what are you committing to do in the next year from now? So based on the session that we have had today. So maybe you can talk about that. Maybe you can even start off with what are your goals, your short-term goals and your long-term goals, and then you can state what action points you're going to take. So yes, let's quickly break into our breakout rooms and we'll be back here by 4:22. All right.
Hi, everybody. I can see you,
Yeah, because of time, I'll just forward to Wilma maybe to say something. Yes.
Hello, can
Thank
you
you.
hear me?
Yes, Wilma.
For me, I'm an urban designer. I'm yet to graduate actually. So for me, it was a really learning session for me because I have realized that in most cases I have more of the things that I don't want than the things that I want to do. So for me, I think as an action point, I'll focus more on the things that I want to do. Also, as much as I would have that list of the things that I don't want to do, I'd make the list of what I want to be longer. And also a point that was said about the people you associate with, who reaffirm you. Yeah, I think that's also something that I might work on. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilma. Yeah, I think everyone has spoken, right? Yeah, maybe what we can do is we can just switch on our cameras so everyone can see each other, and at least we will, yeah, at least the next WIRE event, you have a new friend. So Sophia, you're my new friend. Wilma, Nana, Rose, Sheila, yeah. So at least we can, yeah, network. Yeah.
Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you guys too. So thank you so much. I think we can go back to the main session. We should be going back right now to conclude. Yeah. I think maybe what I can ask you guys, can one of you share what you've just told me in the bigger group? Who can I call upon to share? Sophia and Sheila? No?
It's
No?
okay, Joanne.
Okay, thank you. I'll call upon you to give your 2 cents. All right, so all right, so I'll see you guys in the bigger group. the main group. I think we should be wrapping up the breakout session. I hope everyone managed to be assigned, and I hope that everyone talked in their group. Maybe I can just, in the 2 minutes that we have, I can ask just someone to just give two lines of what they learned, as people are still coming back in. So I was in a group with Sheila. So yeah, Sheila, you can just share in 2 lines.
Yeah, thanks, Joanne. As I previously said, yeah, my name is Sheila, and from Winnie's talk, what I took home was on resilience. That was such a great reminder. And as I had previously said, my take home was on what she said about having a group of friends whom she meets up and who they reaffirm on her strength, especially in relation to the imposter syndrome thing. That was quite a big reminder for me. And from Shalom, basically what I got was on self-awareness. See, it's sort of like getting a concept through life. Say you're geared towards knowing more about communication. No matter how many times you change your profession and all, there's that goal that you have. That's basically what I got from Shalom, plus a whole lot more. Thanks, Joanne.
Thank you so much, Sheila, for that. I'm sure all of us gained a lot, and we've discussed that in our breakout rooms. So I'd like us to wrap up. I hope you guys have all had a lovely session the way I have. Thank you so much, Shalom, once again, and Winnie, for joining us for this month's webinar. And I'm very glad that we've all been able to take part of it. I'd kindly ask Shalom, maybe you can just give 2 minutes, as a final remark, and then once you are done, I'll call upon Joyner to maybe give a few announcements in regards to WIRE. Yeah.
Okay, I think what I would say is that life is an adventure to be enjoyed. And the same way you'd be on a trail and you step on a thorn or, just get a scratch here and there, is that understand that even your professional life is something that you need to enjoy and walk through, learning and gleaning lots of stuff. The small group we were in, there's one of us who's just about to finish uni, and she walked in when we were saying 2 of us have actually been in business for close to 30 years. And when we look back, I think Violet can say that it has actually been an adventure. It's not a bed of roses, or if you want to call it a bed of roses, it has its thorns, right? You have to accept both together. Is enjoy yourself as much as possible, but seek to learn and be better than who you were yesterday, every time. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shalom. I hope we've all heard that. Life is an adventure. Enjoy and seek to learn. Yes. So thank you so much for that. I'd like to call Joyner to say a few things to us. Welcome. Sorry, you're muted.
Sorry, thank you. First of all, I want to thank our speakers. Thank you, Shalom. Thank you for taking us through such a wonderful session. In absentia, I also want to thank Winnie for taking us through resilience and just knowing yourself. I think my biggest takeaway is to grow both career-wise and as a leader. You have to look within and know yourself. It's not easy. Life doesn't get any easier, but just always look at yourself. Don't compare yourself. Just be you, essentially. As we close, I would like to thank every one of you who is also part of the mentorship program. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all the wires who are here. And for all the non-wires, kindly please register today and fill in your application to join WIRE. It's something you don't want to miss out on, and we have more amazing events such as this. Actually, we have our debate session coming up on Friday, the 30th of September, followed by our Work with WIRE, which is actually the culminating event for our mentorship program, which will be on 1st. That will be 1st of October, the Saturday, on Saturday. So I welcome all of you once again to join us for that. For those two wonderful events that will be happening, they'll be following each other. And if you want to join the planning committee, kindly reach out just via WhatsApp or DM us. We are happy to have you join us in planning the events themselves. Also, please follow our social media channels for any updates to be in the know what's happening in WIRE every now and then. It's at WIRE Kenya on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Thank you very much, John Pina, once again. Thank you to everyone. I think that's all for today. I'll see you guys next time on 30th of September. That will be Saturday, on Friday, sorry, and on Saturday also for the Work with WIRE. Bye-bye. Thank you for the wonderful session, guys. See you.
Bye-bye. So to answer Judy, yes, the recordings will be shared. Yes. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Thank you for the amazing sessions. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Fatma.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.